Now may I request our Vice President, Mr. S.S. Naganand ji, to give the response.
Honorable Chief Justice, Justice Devendra Kumar Upadhyay ji, about whom I've heard a lot, but I've had the pleasure of meeting him today. Honorable Justice Shibu Shankar Mishra ji, President Prashant Kumar ji, my colleagues Anandita, Marjit and Maratha ji, fellow delegates, students and tired participants. Speeches after speeches, topics after topics, picking our brain throughout the last 2 days, and for those of us who was here even before that for the Presidents of Law Asia Summit to 2-day Polar Summit, we've had 4 days of excellent intellectual stimulation, good food for the mind, for the intellect, and better food for the stomach also. So the Bar Association of India has been able to organize this event. When the deliberations took place about the theme of the conference and what we can include in it, a lot of discussion took place, and what was at the forefront of our minds was a shloka from Maha Upanishad. I'm sure most of you would have heard a part of it. As I recite it, you will realize. Maha Upanishad is one of the smaller Upanishads. It's not considered as the 18 major Upanishads, but this very important phrase comes in it. It's a 2-line verse. It says, Ayam nijaha parovetti ganana laghuchetasam. I'll translate this and then go to the next one. Ayam nijaha parovetti means, I'm the only who exists, other people don't matter. That's the thinking. Who is the one who thinks like that? Is laghuchetasam. Laghuchetasam is one who is of poor intellect, who doesn't have consciousness in him, who doesn't bother about society. That is the category of person who thinks like that. Then there's the exact opposite of it. Udara Charita tu. Udara Charita is one who is very wide-minded, open-minded, who's always got everything in the welfare of others in his mind. What does he think? He or she? Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So this phrase Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, we have been hearing it. So in what context it is stated, if we bear this in mind, then connect it to rule of law. Now we heard a very erudite talk by Honorable Justice V. Ramasubramaniam, current chairman of the National Human Rights Commission, a former judge of the Supreme Court, and he elaborated and said there are 4 categories of law that comes to us, and one of the important categories, he said, the last category is an unwritten law, which is a voice which you hear from your heart whenever you are doing anything. So he gave the explanation from Vedas, Rig Veda onwards, but the last one is this. So if you bear this in mind, the concept of rule of law becomes very, very clear to us. Rule of law simply means that everything should occur as it is supposed to occur. In Varsha Ritu, the Megha should be there and it should rain. In Shishir Ritu, we must have cold weather. In Vasanta Ritu, we must have flowers. All around Delhi, when you go, you see them. That is the rule of nature. What is the rule of law? Now on the 10th of December 1948, when the United Nations General Assembly deliberated about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and adopted it universally, for the first time an international covenant came about, putting down in writing what are the inalienable rights of citizens, of human beings in this world. But if you go back a little bit and then see what is this that we are talking about, is we go back to Bhagavad Gita, and yesterday Prashant Kumar ji was mentioning about the motto of Bar Association of India. I'll complete the rest of the shloka. Paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya cha dushkrutam, dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. It's God's promise that I am coming to uplift good people. I'm going to come and look after those who are pious people. And the object is, I want to establish dharma, or a code of conduct which is universally applicable to everybody. So that is the motto of Bar Association here, that it is established for the establishment of a just order. That is dharma. Of course, dharma, interpretation of dharma is a bit complicated, so I'm not going to go into that. So if you bear this in mind and look at what happened in the last 2-3 days, I'm sure all of us who participated will realize that we are exposed to a large number of ideas. One of the things which Honorable Chief Justice referred to is climate change, environment. Now for everything we have a historical perspective. And if you go back to our ancient scriptures, unfortunately most of us have not had the great benefit of reading them, understanding them, and looking after them. So in everything you get compassion is something which is built into our psyche, but we have forgotten about it. Adveshtha sarva bhutanam maitre karunayevacha nirmamo nirahankaraha samadukha sukhakshami. How beautifully the Bhagavad Gita puts it, Adveshtha sarva bhutanam. Bhuta here means every living being. In the morning, our President Loesha and Vice President Sham made a reference to the case of the great Indian bustard, which is now pending before the Supreme Court. And the argument that it is our duty to protect the environment. It is the duty of everybody to look at what is good for everyone. So if you look at it from that perspective, the conference exposed us to many ideas on purely legal issues which are universal in character. And we heard the representative from Congo making a passionate appeal this afternoon on how inequality is there in the world, how the developed world is not doing what it is supposed to do, how it contributes only, this country in Africa contributes 4% to global warming, but it is facing 90% of the burden of global warming. So where is this equality coming? How is it that the world is so skewed? These kind of intellectual deliberations that we have is very useful for us, and that is the reason why the Bar Association of India has organized a program like this and has reoriented our thinking to so many concepts which are of great relevance to us, because ultimately if a country has to prosper, if all of us have to be happy, like that famous Vedic prayer, Sarve Janaha Sukhino Bhavantu, Samastu Sanmangalani Bhavantu. These are the two prayers which we utter every day. Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu means let everybody be happy. Now if you want everybody to be happy and you're going to ensure that Africa is going to keep on bearing the burden of climate change and not going to help them, it is not going to happen. Therefore, it is important for us to go back and see what is it that we can do, and as lawyers, what is our role. And Sham Diwan did mention about the case that he is doing in the Supreme Court, which is right now coming up for hearing, a conflict between what should happen to electric lines if laid underground and what should happen to the great Indian bustard if it has to survive. Now, if you look at this concept that we have from the Bhagavad Gita itself, which says that you must have compassion for all living beings. So if you can do something to help a living being, recently again we've had another great case in the Indian Supreme Court dealing with compassion for four-legged animals, our friends, the dogs. It's made great news all over the world. And the Supreme Court has actually fashioned a manner in which it has built the constitutional parameters into its judgment now by saying how to take care of this problem in a humane way. Now, these type of conferences are focusing attention on that. I'm sure some of us have read and heard about it, but many have not. So, these conferences are something which kindles our thought process, which helps us in our daily life, in our professional life, to see how best we can do what we can do for society. Of course, the legal profession is not completely a charitable proposition. It is, we have to earn our daily bread, there's no doubt about it. But in the process of doing that, if you can keep in mind that there is a large section of society, there's a large number of people who are deprived of all these things, and if we can do something to help them, we should be the first to put our right foot forward and take it forward to that line. So if that is the aim of this conference, I think we have achieved it. And to just report to Honorable Chief Justice, at the end of the conference, Prashant Kumar and his team drafted the deliberations of this. And the last line of that is that there was a consensus that rule of law is the bedrock of all actions, and everybody recognizes and reiterates that all actions relating to governance, the internal governance, the international governance, the governance and relationship of countries, all of this should be on the bedrock of the rule of law, and that is something which is the only way in which we can bring about a universal order. And particularly because on the dais we had over 33 countries and representatives, bar leaders from all of them present here. And when this was presented, they all had a deliberation, they gave their viewpoints, and finally the consensus was agreed. I think this is a great achievement of this conference, and could only be possible because of the large number of people who participated in it, the people who have traveled, long distances, unmindful of problems of language, like those are friends from Paris, friends from many other countries, Arabian countries were here, and even small countries where there are only 170 lawyers were there, Brunei. So all of them were very interesting, and of course a large contingent from our neighboring country, Nepal. So I think it's been a wonderful conference. I hope all of you have enjoyed it. On my behalf and on behalf of the Bar Association of India, I take this occasion to thank all of you and thank the entire Bar Association team that has been able to put all this together. And we wish you Godspeed and safe return to your native lands, and keep in touch with Bar Association of India. Thank you.